Hi, welcome to today's class. Today is the class on innovation project. So this is a continuation from the previous session. We had an industry expert who spoke to us this week about her passion, which is creating action scenes in a movie or TV shows. So we had Heather Arthur, who is a stunt woman for various movies, but also she now works for NCIS Stunt Department, where she does stunts for the NCIS Hawaii show that airs on television. So we had the opportunity to talk to her and learn about a lot of different things. So today's session is going to focus on innovation. I'm going to talk a little bit about the industry expert meeting we had, but also, before we start any of our presentations or classes, I want to remind everyone about gracious professionalism. Today's class is actually going to be more on gracious professionalism as well. We're going to pick the three core values, which is inclusion, teamwork, and fun, and apply it to our daily meetings, especially the virtual meetings. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the etiquette that we have to use for meeting on virtually on Teams or Zoom or whatever platform there is. So, gracious professionalism is a way of doing things that encourages high quality work, emphasizes the value of others, and respects individuals and the community. And so we have six core values: discovery, innovation, impact, inclusion, teamwork, and having fun. So all of these core values are very important, and we will apply these in our engagements throughout the FLL season. So the last time we had talked about innovation, what innovation is. We had talked about some examples of innovation, and so one of the examples that I shared, in fact, one of the students shared, was about the light bulb, how light, which is so necessary for us to do things during the evenings and the nights, how light is very important. Also, light is important in movies, in animation. Light is important in photography. So we were trying to understand how light was being used. We also use light in our light sensor, in our color sensor. So how about in terms of innovation, how it went from firewood to candle to oil lamps to filament lamps and to element, which is a lighting, which is a heating element. That's a fluorescent, let's say incandescent bulb. And then we have the fluorescent, and then we have the LED light emitting diodes. So how technology has improved or how we have innovated using a simple thing as a light. I say simple because it's very simple, right? It comes from many different sources, but we have how we have innovated that to be able to use it in different surroundings and different environments. So for today's class, we had gone through the challenge comic. This is something FLL had put out. It's a comic that's part of the engineering notebook. But I've had all of the students read these out. So basically, in this particular comic, the story is that Izzy, who is assigned in homework, right, to basically help share her passion. She needs to find ways to do it, but she has some constraints, and one of the constraints is she cannot use a video. So she has to create something without the use of video, but show how her passion for skateboarding um, makes her happy. How she has to share her experiences with skateboarding and engage others. And I'll tell you a little bit why that is important. But that is what we did. We went through this comic in this story, which I will share the link. Uh, so you have to go and click on it and then actually read through this comic and try to understand how Izzy achieves it. And she speaks with this lady called Anna, who is a museum curator. And then she, on the way Um, she goes past a movie set, and there she meets the visual effects director by the name Emily. And then she bumps into a stage manager, and then she talks to the stage manager, understand they all give her some clues on what she can do. And then finally she meets somebody who's a sound engineer, and then she takes that information and then finally creates her project, her FLL Innovation Project, by recording the sounds of her skateboarding. And this is the slide where she uses the audio recorder to record the sound from her skating, when she turns, when she spins, when she jumps, and does other things, but also she captures the the cheers from the all the audience looking at it. So when somebody listens to this audio, they're able to get the same feeling and experience what you would have experienced if you were skating. And so that's how she achieves her FLL or her innovation project, which is sharing the um, the experiences with skateboarding with many people. Okay, so then we went through this little slide here, say a little, but there's so many little different kinds of arts put in here. So the whole reason for this discussion was to understand what other technology and art exist. Okay, so we went through this exercise with everyone and they had their own passion. So this is also to bring out your passion. So think about what is very passionate for you. It could be something you do with music, with dancing. It could be something that you do when you write. So all of that is something you do every day. But think of things that you're passionate about, okay? And why it is important is because we are going to take that passionate thing that we have and we are going to apply that to this innovation project. And you can actually use that passion that you have to come up with a solution to share your experience, just like how Izzy wanted to share her experience with the skateboarding. All right. So in this example, I have photographer, there's the theater arts, then there's the news media, and then we have Mona Lisa, it's painting. Then I have the stunt woman. We actually spoke to the NCIS stunt woman, and then that's again a form of art, and they use technology, sculpting, and then screen printing, and then then there's another slide here which is question marks. So what is innovation project? So this is the question we have to answer, and that will be your innovation project, is how we can use technology and art, or arts, different kinds of arts, to help engage others, make people part of the our passion and increase participation, meaning having more people be able to do something that you're doing, or more people can enjoy what you have put out as a form of art. And how do you do that, right? That's the whole innovation project. So this year, FLL is focusing on your passions, right? It could be a passion from someone else's passion, right? Whatever interests you, right? So I had the stunt woman, Heather Arthur, who is the NCIS stunt woman, and she shared her passion. You can use her passion and do that as well. But first thing you do is you look into yourself and see what passions you have and try to come up with a FLL. And this is going to be the assignment for next week, in which you will present a 2.5 minute presentation on the passion, but you're going to identify a specific problem. And we're going to talk about that process in our next slide. So what are you going to do? You're going to identify a specific problem related to sharing your hobbies and interests. The key word here is sharing, and the other keyword is hobbies or interests. Interests can be anything, and that's why we had the stunt woman who came in and talked about her passion, her hobbies. You can use that, and if you identified some challenge or problem from that, you can elaborate on that, or you can use your own passion. But I want you to pick a specific, because there could be a tons of different problems that you want to solve, but you need to be very specific in that. Why is that? because we have limited time, okay? And you won't be able to focus on one if you're looking at multiple problems. So you need to be focused and pick one problem, and then you want to research a problem and come up with ideas on how to solve that. And remember, the key word is to share your hobbies or interests, right? Right? So research a problem, and then we can find ideas from it. How do you research? You can ask people around you, you can ask industry experts. We still have access to Heather Arthur. So if you have questions you want to ask her, you can send it through me and I'll get you the answer by end of next week. But you need to do it quick. You need to work on this throughout the week. Spend maybe 15-20 minutes every day. You can spend majority of it on a Sunday, which is tomorrow, but I want you to work on it in such a way that by the end of the week, you have a presentation, 2.5 minutes, where I want to learn about your problem, your passion first, then a problem that you identified on how to share your hobbies or interests and how you're going to share it and what's the solution that you're going to use to be able to share it. Okay. So you're going to design and create a solution that helps people learn about your passions. It's very simple. But yet, if you don't know what the problem you're solving, it's going to be hard to find that. So again, focus on your specific problem. And then you need to share your ideas and collect feedback. So once you have your solution ready, you can send it back to me and or ask your parent and help them understand what it is through your presentation or through your it could be just a drawing, or you can just talk to them and collect feedback. And I can help you collect feedback from Heather Arthur if you're working on the stunt woman challenges that she faced. And then we have to communicate. We need to actually present this in a live event, which I will help you do next week. We are going to have a live event. We are going to be meeting at the church where we're going to set up a 30-minute presentation of FLL. Everyone is going to get 2.5 minutes. That's plenty of time. 30 minutes is plenty of time for us to go through all of your presentations. Now make sure you have something to tell me about your passion, the problem that you identified, and the solution that you've come up with, being able to share your hobbies and interests. At the end of it, there is going to be a prize. Okay. So what that prize is, you'll know after you finish your presentation. So, but remember, there is a prize. I'm going to give out a total of 5 different prizes throughout the season. I've already given out one. So there's 4 left. And you may be the next winner, but you need to work really hard, focus, and then come up with a solution. With that, that was the part of the FLL. But I also wanted to talk about today is on the etiquette. And here's where we use the 3 core values. Okay. And so what is it that I want to talk about? And what is it that is there anything to talk about with in terms of meetings? There's a lot of things, right? When you meet in person, there are certain things you do. You wait for other persons to speak, you contribute, you work as a team, you help each other. You do the same thing when you're virtually meeting as well. But there are certain things you have to do because we're using a technology, right? We're using computers, tablets, we're using a platform, a meeting platform. So let's look at this. So, what is etiquette? It's the customary code of polite behavior. What is customary? It's something that we require. It's a code of polite behavior in our society or among members of a particular profession or group. We are a FLL group, and so this applies to our group. Okay, we also practice gracious professionalism. So we are professions or professionals, and so this applies to us. It applies to us in every different group that we are in. It applies to us when we are meeting people in your house, in your park, in your school, wherever you are. Some sort of customary code of polite behavior applies to us, right? And so when you're meeting in virtual meetings, this is one of the main important things I want to focus on is being on time. And I had given the example I asked is if you have a 9 o'clock meeting, is joining the meeting at 9 o'clock, is it being on time? And all the students said no, and that was the correct answer. Why? Because being on time doesn't mean you join at 9 o'clock. You actually join 5 minutes before 9 o'clock. This is especially true when you are meeting in person. You don't come into your class at 9 o'clock. You are there before the class starts, right? Similarly, with online meetings, you actually come in at least 10 minutes. Why? Because of technology that we may have to fix your audio, your video. You may have to make sure you're connected to the internet. Maybe you don't have the link, right? So all of that, you have to solve it within the first 10 minutes. And you don't take away the time that your teacher or someone else is, if somebody is presenting, you don't take the time away from them. You actually do that before the start of the class, before the start of the meeting or presentation. So be on time, which means be 10 minutes early to meetings. Use of chat and emojis. Using chat and emojis is okay when the host of the meeting tells you that it's okay to do it. Otherwise, do not use chat or put emojis or reactions or whatever you want to call that. And that's because there are certain rules that you want to follow. Usually, the host will tell you all of these the beginning of the meeting. There have been times where I've been in a meeting where the host did not necessarily draw a line and tell where what can be done, what cannot be done. And then those types of meetings usually take longer. People are trying to figure out how to ask questions. Instead, what I've realized and what I do with every meeting that I start is I give them a housekeeping items. And they're called housekeeping items because this is a kind of house we are keeping, which is going to be for 30 minutes. In this 30 minutes, we want to make sure everybody gets a chance to participate and engage. And that's where inclusion comes in, our core value, but also want to keep it fun. That way, nobody's offended. And so, again, being polite comes into picture there, and working together. That's our teamwork. That's another core value. So make sure you follow rules. And as a host, I need to give you that before the start of the meeting. So if for whatever reason I don't use it, I don't say it, you can ask a question and say, what are the rules for the meeting today? That's a good question to ask. And it's not offending, it's being polite. And you're actually helping not just yourself, but all of the others in the meeting. No eating, reading books, etc. So when you're in a meeting, don't go to sleep. Okay, that's not nice. It's not polite. If you're feeling really sleepy, you can take a break. You can ask permission. What do you do when you're in class? If you have to go use the restroom, you ask your teacher. The teacher would have told you what you need to do in order to ask. If she says, raise your hand and I'll come to you and you can tell me what you want, then use that protocol. That's a protocol, right? That's a code to say, I have something to ask. So maybe raising your hand. So always ask permission if you want to step out, step away from the meeting, or if you have to leave early. So always be polite. And lastly, I want to talk about judging. Okay, so this is very important. Most of our FLL judging will happen in person in a room, but then for innovation project and for presentations, it could all be virtual because it's easy to schedule, right? People don't have to drive to one location. You can be sitting in front of it, in front of a computer, and you can still be part of this judging. And so judging will mostly happen virtually, and that is why it is really important to be on time, to understand the rules of engagement, which is whether you can use chat, how to ask questions, be polite, no side conversations. So, sidebar conversations are like when the judging is going on and the teammates are talking to each other in chat. That's not acceptable. Okay. If you want to talk, if you want to ask something, ask right in front of the judges, and make sure it's appropriate to the topic that you're talking. So be on topic. Don't go off topic. Use of camera, like when I'm talking to you right now, I'm in the frame, right? If I was not looking at you, and if I say I want to turn it off, I can turn off my camera. But if I'm on the camera, make sure they can see you and you're in this frame. You're not cut off with your half of your face. Make sure there's not much going on in the back. There may be stuff going on in the back. There may be a cat that's jumping, playing with a, I don't know, a tennis ball. Don't make sure you, I mean, make sure you are in a place where there's not much distraction. It's a quiet place. Make sure of that first. There's not too much noise, but also in front of a camera, make sure it's appropriate, right? Wear appropriate clothing. Don't wear your PJs and sit in front of a camera, because just because you are in the house doesn't mean you can wear PJs, right? Because now you're in a meeting, which is a judging, or it could be a class that you're attending. Make sure you're wearing appropriate clothing. And I'm not saying that you have to wear a suit or you have to dress up, but have some simple um, clothing, appropriate clothing for the event. And then asking questions, again, follow the rules of engagement. The judges will tell you how to ask questions. But if the judges don't tell you, that means there's not much room for asking questions. Um, Most likely they're okay for you to raise your hand or make some sort of a flag, maybe just raise your hand or maybe use the raise button on the Teams, but that's probably okay, right? I mean, you can still ask during the start of the meeting, "Hey, is there any rules of engagement on how to ask questions if they don't tell you?" But most likely, this time around, I'm hopeful they will give you some guidelines on asking questions and so on. And last but most importantly, what you've been doing till this point, keep your listening ears open. Okay. You need to be able to listen to everything the judges are saying, asking, because you don't want to make them repeat it. Okay. And so that's very important. Keep your listening ears on, not to just the judges, but to each other, right? Make sure you are understanding the question. Make sure you are understanding what the other person is saying. So you can either add value by adding more to it, or you can ask more questions if it's a question and answer session. So make sure your listening ears are on. With that,